And so we are going to have a conversation today about that. And of course, we are demystifying the myths around money and the entertainment industry. If you have friends who are not here, who you would want to participate in the conversation, feel free to suggest to them to type in JaRIA Reggae University on YouTube, and they will see what's happening now, so that they can actually engage with the content. Outside of that, I want to thank Church Teachers College for welcoming us, for agreeing to have us here to speak with you. And of course, we hope to return. And when we return, we hope to have many more here with us to participate in the conversation. Because the more of us who understand the Jamaican entertainment product and the potential it has for Jamaica's economic liberation, the better it is for us all. Having said all of that, let me do what my grandmother would prefer and introduce myself. My name is Johan Simpson. I am chairman of the Jamaica Reggae Industry Association. I have with me our Director of Education as a panelist for this conversation today, Ms. April McIntosh. Give her a round of applause. And I also have with me as our second panelist, Mr. Britton Wright, and he's a poet, and he's a co-founder of JaRIA Poetry. JaRIA Poetry is partnering with JaRIA for Reggae Month this year to bring spoken word, storytelling, and poetry performances to our events. So he's a panelist today. I suspect he might share
very much open to that.
Excellent. Check, 1, 2. All right. Good.
Why were them outside? Everybody left.
Okay. And everybody can hear me well now, right? Good. So, when we talk about the reggae industry, a lot of people think about stardom. A lot of people think about large shows, lots of lights. You know, people think about all the bells and whistles, first class flights, performing all over the world, meeting other stars, and so on. But there is a reality, there's an underbelly that we all need to understand. There's an underbelly that too many of us do not appreciate. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to involve you in the conversation. And we're going to ask you to tell us what you hear when you hear the reggae industry. Give me, and I would like to ask 3 or 4 of you to tell me, what's the one word that comes to mind when you think of reggae? I saw a hand. Yes, sir. A vibe. All right.
It's the same when it's in the chocolate.
You think of Jamaica.
It's the same.
Anything else?
Rhythm.
Rhythm.
I never do that part.
Rhythm. A vibe. Jamaica. What else?
The many of us didn't fantasy some of the shows. Like this is the one second process.
Nothing else. Pardon? Promoters. Okay. All of those are true. All of those are part of the reality of reggae. But there's another reality. There's a deeper reality beyond the vibe, beyond the rhythm, beyond the promoters, beyond the brand Jamaica that we need to explore. And so, we're going to start the conversation with our panelists. And I'm going to ask our director, McIntosh, to tell us what is the biggest myth that you encountered, that you have encountered so far in your journey through reggae music. And by the way, while you're telling us what's the biggest myth, I want you to also give us a little bit of a 30 to 45 seconds on what you have done in the entertainment industry.
Biggest myths that I encountered: get rich quick, most boss by next week. We're gonna make $1 million in a 6 months. We're gonna buy a house by the end of the year. Biggest myth.
And then tell us what you've done in the industry that has caused you to hear all of that and see all of that around you.
Alright, so the foundation on what my business represents is artist management and artist development. No, it is not just artists and vocalists. We talk about artist creatives. Yeah. Developing an artist into what they desire to become and to sustain as a career, and then by extension, once that has been developed, we help to sustain and manage it thereafter, right? So in development, it's one of the first questions I actually ask: what are your goals? I phrase it as what are your goals, but usually the answers come as tangible things that they want to be able to acquire, and it's a misunderstanding and a very big myth that I find across the board. Before the recognition of actually accomplishing those goals, I don't think any of them fathom the amount of work that they have to put in, or that needs to be done on the back end to sustain them. So, yeah.
Excellent. Same thing for you, Brittany.
So, as it relates to what I do in the space, alright, so I am Britton Wright, co-founder of JaRIA Poetry, and JaRIA Poetry is on a mission to create a more sustainable poetry ecosystem in Jamaica. Because one exists, but it's not sustainable. There isn't a firm foundation for what is being done. The space has existed for eons now, but the foundation has not been properly laid. So that is our mission mandate. As far as what Ms. McIntosh would have said as it relates to artist development, there's so much more to an artist and the machine behind an artist than what you'd see at face value. You just see this person on the stage, you see the glamour, you see the videos, the imagery, but there's so much more behind it as far as the structure and the management of the individual's career. That's why there has to be someone, or people, or a team of people behind the scenes guiding the direction of this creative's trajectory within the space. We're speaking of the space really the reggae industry.
Thank you, Richard. So that leads us then to the question, since there are so many myths, and since people have so many different ideas about getting rich quick, or how glamorous and easy it is, or how, as some people like to say, oh, them artists just like, they just they just go studio every day, go smoke herb, and they just drink a lot and party and yeah, this frivolous party. There is clearly more than that. And some of that is myth. And it is certainly a myth that that is all there is to it. So, what makes the reggae ecosystem an industry? That's a question that we need to answer. First of all, what do you think? What do you think? What makes the reggae ecosystem an industry? Pardon? Somebody has an answer. No answer. What makes the reggae ecosystem an industry? The contribution that it just made or the impact it has on others. That's a good start. That's a good start. Any other response? Any other response? My friend? Yes, you. Your heart. Yes. See if your heart is. What makes it? What makes it an industry? What makes the reggae ecosystem an industry?
A good try.
That's not a bad direction to go in. That's not a bad direction to go in at all. But there is more than that. But that is a good start from in responses from both of you. But it is an industry because it has business elements. It has interconnected properties that are behind it. Yes, this works. So it has interconnected business elements. It has a creative process, a process of creation, the creation of products in a way that involves multiple stakeholders, and there is a profit and loss structure. People make money, people lose money. There is income, there is expenditure. Good, and it is part of an interconnected system. That's what makes it an industry. So the question that we then need to explore together is, where does the money come from and what sustains the industry? Does anybody have a clue where income comes from in the Jamaica's entertainment industry? Yes. Where do we get the income? When you say hosting shows and events, who makes the money from the hosting of the shows and events? Artists and other stakeholders, producers, yes. I want to hear everybody, you know. So let me hear you now. Don't look over your shoulder, man. Answer me. You were saying it when he was speaking, so you can say no. Pardon? I wasn't minding. I want to hear. What were you saying? Okay, so then you need to be a little more specific about who the stakeholders were, which is a very good point. So why you wanted to deprive us of that point? Yes, sir, you were saying. This gentleman in the vest, the checkered vest. I see. I see. Very well. Let's go to our panelists then. Where does money come from? where does money come from in this space? I mean, JaRIA Poetry is creating a professional space for income for one of our least funded, one of our least regarded and recognized creative forms, poetry. So, where do we expect to get this money from? What are the streams that we are looking at? I think we need some support from audio. The other one is the one that was not working.
I know for that dead battery, they just take it straight from over in that one. Oh no, gone dead?
Yeah, no, it's not working.
What do you mean? The mic's not working? What do you mean?
Miss Scarlett, we need your support down here on the laptop.
He's coming.
Go after them. Curtis, you have parcel by the laptop?
Yeah.
Amen.
He didn't say when he said he's doing something.
Tell him to give you password.
That's what he
That
said.
makes sense.
Is that one working?
Huh?
Is that one working?
Yes.
Yes, what you gonna
It's
say?
fully charged. Hey.
Hello?
Huh?
It's all done now.
And the fox said they had to go to the service because we were in the system and then just take out everything as they come out of
The typing question.
in some
Doing something has been
I guess.
Alright, so we're going to continue and use the one microphone we have that functions so we can finish the conversation. Because it doesn't, we have been waiting a while and those on the stream have also been waiting a while. So let me see how much of this we can pull as a cable. And we have the conversation. So I hope you remember the answer, the question, so that we can complete the answer.
Here. Yeah.
Yes, so from my experience within the current poetry landscape, a lot of the support comes from the diaspora at the moment. That's the unfortunate reality. It comes from outside of our borders, outside of Jamaica. It's just Jamaicans who live abroad who are very passionate about Jamaican culture and anything that celebrates it. And of course, poetry does that. So for us, they are a very key contributing factor at this point.
From you want it just general entertainment. So for artists, I would have to say that majority comes from private investment. We do have, I heard a young man earlier mentioning about events and getting into sponsorship and everything. So you have one-off events that we have here that are staples that can be fully supported by private sector through sponsorship, but for the most part, when it comes down to entertainment business or entertainment as in artist management or that kind of stuff, just building up a career, it's usually privately funded or privately invested by a company who does that, who specializes in that.
Thank you. So now the question is, what are the general, when we need to explore a range of possibilities when it comes down to income from entertainment in general. When we think entertainment, yes, we think the front-facing ones, but of course, you could mention investment, you can mention fees from those in the diaspora. So, but fees are one thing. Fees for live performances. What are the other possibilities? There are myriad other possibilities for revenue generation. The reality is, every time you use your phone, you're causing somebody to be paid. Every time you buy a phone, you're causing someone to be paid. You may not know that you're paying someone in an ecosystem because you're just thinking about purchasing a phone. Every time you go to a party, multiple persons are being paid. Every time you watch a movie, thousands of people are paid. Every time you go on a game, thousands of people are paid. And every time you make a fashion choice, thousands of people are paid. And so, we want to explore the ways that this income comes about. But first of all, what are those streams of possibilities? So April, you need to tell us now. When you are talking to your artists and trying to get them to diversify or to open their minds to the possibilities, when everybody believes that they need to be the lead artist to earn, what do you tell them?
Going back to foundation, it starts from a skill base. Not every artist is fully versatile in all areas of life. Okay? You have some artists, for example, I have a young lady that I'm developing now. She amazing vocalist, but she's also a really amazing chef. That's another income stream for her. And she can actually tie that back into her artistry, whether you want to believe it or not. Yeah? You have a lot of young men, especially in dance, they're excellent with their hands, like them can build anything. Yeah? IT, whether it's woodwork, that kind of, you understand what I'm saying? But when it comes down to the artistry and monetizing that, you have, I'm sure you guys would have heard about merchandise, designing your own brand, your brand development, exposure in that arena. You don't have to just focus on doing pullovers or hoodies and t-shirts. You can spread it a little further. You can go into wristbands and watches. If you understand what I'm saying, you have, look at Bob Marley, for example. They started out with the alignment of queer, and eventually as a music brand, right? Because worldwide, that's what they're known for, more than t-shirts. Yeah. It became the branded speakers, and they're selling like wildfire and for only money, you know. So it's just about understanding your brand awareness, being brand aware, and then developing the brand to understand if it has any limitations or if it can go beyond the limitations that you've already set out for it. Yeah.
Thank you, April. So we're going to drill down into certain elements. So we mentioned merch. I mean, poetry is interesting because poetry can also take merch, but poets also, because they are writers, can go into so many other areas and streams. What are some of those possibilities, Britta?
Absolutely. So the possibilities for poets is very diverse, because my thing is, I would currently classify myself as a performance poet. I lean heavily into live performances to bring my work into a three-dimensional space, so you can feel the poem and there's a lot more texture and dimension to it. So as poets, we benefit from a lot of possible streams of income. For example, putting out a book, a poetry book, right? A collection of your poems. That's one stream. And there are many ways that you can go about that one specific stream. You can self-publish through spaces like Amazon, etc. Or you can find yourself a publisher and get the guidance. And there's pros and cons to each one. So for poets, you have the medium of books, or book sales, or authorship. You also have situations where you can collaborate. Or say, for example, an organization may reach out to you to write a specific piece that speaks to a particular audience. And there's an arrangement between you and the organization as far as the rights and the usage of that. So that would also entail potential royalties. So it's a long-term thing, it's more sustainable. And then of course, there's the performance side of it, right? So for example, you have a book out, you can do book signings, etc., and also perform your work at events. So that also boosts and helps to promote your book and your brand. And you can also do recordings, because we live in a very tech-driven time, right? Where being a poet and being a writer, it doesn't mean that you have to remain one-dimensional where you just have your works on a piece of paper or on a screen. You can do live performances, you can create videos for your poetry, and you can also do audio albums, right? Or even audiobooks for your poetry. There's a lot of different ways to approach it. I also do photography, and I'm in a space now where I'm incorporating and marrying those two different creative elements. So I get to showcase my photography paired with my poetry. So those are some examples. as far as
in and out of the
poets are
camera, but that's
concerned.
about it.
And of course, when it comes on to merch, the possibilities are even wider. Because if you're doing photography and you're doing poetry, I mean, apparel can take both of those, and can take combinations of those, and you can create designs that can be licensed to other spaces. Good. So you can create a design that is licensed to Kuya. Kuya can sell that, you know what I'm saying? And that is another stream of income. You can create those to be different things as well. It can be general works of art. You know, it can be designs that are used in audiovisual content, in advertising, in interior design. The possibilities are endless. So we need to stop thinking about the entertainment industry as artists on stage. That is front-facing, yes, but that is not all that it is. We're going to take a break from the chatter for a few. I hope the band is ready. I hope the band is on standby and is ready, because we know that there's a lot of talent down here at Church Teachers College, and we would want to allow for our friends who are online and watching to partake in some of the talent that exists down here. So we're going to take a moment and we're going to look at and listen to what the performers from the Church Teachers College Band have to share with us. I'm assuming they're ready. And I don't want to stop speaking until they have started to play. So I'm going to keep saying something so that we don't have dead air. But after that, we're going to take a few recorded items, digitally recorded items that we have on this screen, and then we come back to the conversation. So now that I'm hearing a bass chime in, I'm assuming, and now I'm hearing keyboards, it means the band is ready.
Can't do both one time. She doesn't know how to operate the camera.
Speak to the singers.
You company. We manufacture products such as second-grade cereals, healthy ingredients such as omega punch, peanut porridge mix, and lots of products created from nuts, seeds, and grains. Our motto says, adding fiber to your diet. And our name suggests we produce products as close to creation as possible. When I think of reggae, there are three words that come to mind. Authentic, original, and those two are very unique. And there's another one, which is natural. And I think of that with reggae, and I also would agree that creation food products are also authentic, original, and they are unique because they are created from products that are as close to creation as possible. Together, there is a combination between music, the originality of music, and also the originality of food. So we have the cereal line. At Jamaican, we call it the porridge line, which includes peanuts, plantain, almond porridge, second-grade cereal, original, and coconut. We have the smoothie line, which is the mega punch, and the ready mega, vanilla and chocolate flavors. We also produce products such as the whole wheat flour. We also have a cassava flour. We have the textured vegetable protein line, and we have a numerous line of other products that are natural and good for you. Hi, this is Leon Morris from Creation Food, and this is a taste of reggae.
Tara's part of Janine Baby, Richie Luke's make good music.
The any commercial purpose. If we are doing that license.
Of course.
And I can be the nice if you use commercially.
JCAP, the Jamaica Association of Composers, Authors, and Publishers, protects the rights of its members and worldwide creators of musical works by issuing licenses and use of these works.
If you use music for any commercial purpose, you need JCAP license. Call Clarity Law.
Call JCAP at 948-5927 and 948-6499.
Get the JCAP license now.
The Jamaica Reggae Industry Association proudly presents Reggae Month 2026 on the powerful theme Rhythms of Resilience. For the entire month of February, JaRIA celebrates the culture, the sound, and the spirit that continue to shape Jamaica's rich musical heritage. And we're starting strong. From February 1 to 6, here's what's coming up in week 1. We open on Sunday, February 1 at 8 p.m. with Honoring the Crown Prince, a heartfelt tribute to the legendary Dennis Brown, celebrating his timeless legacy at the Edna Manley College Amphitheatre. Admission is free. Then on Wednesday, February 4 at 6 p.m., it's Reggae Wednesdays with Back to Bases. This edition salutes Jamaica's great bass players and the iconic bass lines that shape our music, featuring legendary musicians, including Morris Gardner, Jackie Jackson, Lloyd Parks, Errol Flower Holt, Danny Exman, and Danny Basie. Admission is free. On Thursday, February 5, we dive deep into the JaRIA Reggae Open University, unpacking the myths, the money, and the reality of the reggae industry, and exploring how reggae truly functions beyond the romantic narrative. This happens at Church's College. We close the week with the JaRIA Masterclass focusing on professionalism, discipline, and industry readiness on Friday at 10 a.m. at the Edna Manley College here at Moody Hall. And that's only week 1 of Reggae Month 2026. To learn more, follow at JaRIA Entertainment on Instagram and Facebook. This February, JaRIA Reggae Month 2026, Rhythms of Resilience. JaRIA Reggae Month 2026.
Well. I hope in those 3 clips you got a lot of information that is useful for you. Yes. Which one was most useful for you? The last one. You say that to please me. But I mean, there is so much information. So we of course, some people would have benefited from Creation Foods because they're outside and they're giving samples. So I suspect that would be something that is pleasing. But JCAP is also important, and there's a reason why that was in the middle in the mix. Because we're talking about streams of income, and we're talking about licenses that need to be issued. Good. But I'm going to ask April to tell me, from among the cohort of artists you've worked with and trained, from among the cohort of artists that you've seen in the industry so far, without suggesting the names of any, what are some of the misfits, some of the things that you see people insisting on doing, that if they did something else, or if they assisted other people to do what they were doing, they could be better off in streams of income? Yeah, we heard you.
One of the things that I guess I would have to say is a common factor amongst most is understanding that creativity is not built, it can't be. So in order for us to understand that as a foundation, it then takes us to understanding what our creativity defines, what it defines itself as. I've often found where we try to adapt to what someone else has as a success story in the business. So let's say you have a particular dancehall artist. I'm coming up as a dancehall artist and I like this artist. This is somebody that I would say is a mentor to me. Yeah? I'm trying to do it exactly like how they did it. And it's a big no. Like, no situation is the same in this business. None. You're all going to have very different experiences, and you're all going to have it in different ways, shapes, and forms and sizes. Yeah. What I do find though is that your attitude and how humble you actually are as a person makes the difference of how you experience it and how impactful that experience is.
But have you seen people, though, in your journey that, for example, are insisting on being a writer or a dancer, or insisting on being a frontline artist, but they're amazing as a guitarist, or amazing as a writer?
I can actually tell you, and of course we're not going to call the name, but I can tell you 3 artists that, and when I say artists, they call themselves an artist, and that's what they're aspiring to be. But I'm going to tell you that they're the 3 baddest writers out of Jamaica globally. If they didn't take it serious, they would have made money and come through teeth. But the passion for music and the passion for wanting to be a frontline artist, front of stage, you know, it's stifling the real talent that exists. So yeah, it happens a lot. You have some people that they start out as an artist, you know, and they have to retract being an artist and go into something else where they really find their passion, right? So it's for me, I tell people stay true to your passion. It's one of the core things that I discuss in artist development. Don't change it because you think that what you're changing it to is going to be a faster, it's going to move faster to get to where you want to be. Because tension is the one you don't.
But is it the same thing in poetry, though, Rita? Is it that you find people who want to be performance poets, who really have no performance energy, have no performance persona or personality, and have no interest in learning it or being developed in that direction? But they would be beautiful if they went into writing books. They would be amazing if they went into screenplay writing. They would be amazing if they just did not want to be under the lights?
Well, for me, as she pointed out earlier, no two experiences is exactly the same. I cannot, in my memory right now, pinpoint any specific point where I see, for example, in the performance space, we would have been better off focusing on the behind the scenes aspect of it, or focusing on just being a book poet, so to speak. I wouldn't say that has been my experience. Maybe others within the space might have their stories and observations of such, but for the most part, I swear a lot of the poets, they tend to stick to their lane, they know what their strengths are, and they tend to focus on that.
Do you think enough of them appreciate, however, the multiple possibilities and the multiple streams of income that exist?
I don't think they do. But that is where we as JaRIA come in to help to enlighten them as far as the myriad of possibilities that await if they are just to be able to see it from a different vantage point. Because there's so much potential within the space and within a lot of them. All they need is just a bit of direction, a bit of guidance, and the right people to open their eyes as to their potential broadening of avenues.
Excellent. So, having then seen that their eyes need to be opened, their avenues need to be broadened, there may be some fundamental things that we are missing in the national conversation. So, for example, if we don't know where the money comes from, if we all believe the money comes from being under the lights, then we don't understand the ecosystem, and I used this word before, that is necessary for an industry to generate and share wealth. So, April, I'm coming back to you. Talk us through 5 different ways that an artist earns. I will help you to remember them. We'll say 1.
Streams.
Doublets, which is a performance of a tailored version of an existing record for either a sound system or a private event or entity or a radio station or such simple thing, yes?
You can also, I pair doublets and jingles together.
Yes.
They're pretty much in the same category. You have live performances. You have, outside of live performances, you also have production for hire. You have some artists that, as I said before, they're very good writers. They also sing very well, so you'll find that private companies sometimes will hire them to execute certain things for the company. Yeah. It may not be branding artists, but to know that the artist is associated is still another income stream. We have the merchandise, as I said before.
Yes.
I don't name 5 already.
That's 4.
I don't hear that one. I said live streams, and I said live performances. I would have to say production though, separate and apart from
Yes.
corporate production. Because what you find now, or in recent years, you would have production teams and then you have artists. Now you're finding that production teams and artists kind of merge together, and the artists now start to learn other skills to help themselves within the studio and probably expand on that. I think I'm at 5 also.
Yes, you're at 5. But and I hope you're appreciating those 5 options. But I also want to look at those 5 options and expand them. Because, 1, for example, if we talk about production, or if we talk about live performances, or if we talk about merchandising, there is a way that all of those are assisted. For example, if the artist licenses their music to a movie. So think about James Bond. Anybody with a song in a James Bond movie becomes a star again. Just because, not because you starred in the movie, but because your song is on the movie soundtrack. Are you with me? If you are a writer, therefore, this is where I went to JCAP. If you are a writer, you didn't sing that song because your voice is not so great, but you're excellent in writing, whether as a poet or as someone who writes melodies, or both. Because what you're doing when you write a song is that you're blending poetry with melodies. Yes? And if we understood that the poets and the musicians could collaborate to create works, we would probably have better writing. We would probably have greater songs being written. Because the poets, without music, have to find an interesting way to tell the story. The musicians can lean on the music as a crutch. The poets have to make sure that their punchlines are hitting, that their story is engaging, etc. So can you imagine what would happen if you blended the two more often? Are you with me? And so you can have a melody in your head, but you're dreadful at words. As they would say in other lyrics. Yes, April, you want to say something?
You mentioned if they would blend them more often. Funny enough, where we're coming from back in the day, poetry was a form of writing songs. That's where it started, in Jamaica at least. And I think it's when it became more than just the context of what poetry was, but it became expression of self and expression of just raw honesty or raw plainness is when it began to expand. But I look forward to and I hope that we can go back to that place. Not necessarily to let it be what it was, but to let it become more than it was. I think exploring creativity is one of the most interesting and intriguing things. And the thing about creativity is not taught. It's not something that you can solely teach. You have to have a creative gene there, you have to get it out, if you know what I mean. I definitely would encourage that, and I hope JaRIA has that in their mandate to push forward. That's something that our industry certainly needs. On the topic of the funding for our industry, and the ecosystem, very important word. I fully support and endorse what you're saying. However, I find that just like every other arena, banking and finance is one, medical, if you notice, every single area has its own source of funding to make it what it is today. What I have recognized is that we don't have enough dedicated, die-hearted, passionate, invested people who believe and support the rawness of what our entertainment culture is and what it can do.
When you say rawness, what exactly do you mean?
So, there is something about our culture. Not just as Jamaicans, but just what we produce, generally speaking. There was a word that the lady used, natural. I think it was natural was the last word that she used. That is exactly what it is to me. It is natural, it's flawless, it comes from you. There's not much exertion that you really need to put in. But I think if we had more, and when I say had more, I'm speaking from the standpoint of coming up in the business. One of the things that I desired the most was to find like-minded individuals like myself who who find a way to develop the ecosystem, as you said before, and to develop mandates, foundations, rules, regulations. As a whole, the industry should function in order for it to be, or to have a long lifespan. And it is rare to find individuals like that in the space. Everybody's really running on the glory of making a nice 5 mil pack and, you know, buy a house up a stone inland. Yeah. It's not about the lifespan anymore. I think that is one of the things that we're missing from the ecosystem, or what needs to be a foundational part of the ecosystem.
Good. So having said that, and having spoken to what is natural, which does not negate the need for curating and for making art out of life, you know, and packaging for economic development. Who are some of the people? Because in demystifying the myths around the industry, who are some of the people that an artist needs? Let us go back to the artist. If we think it through from the artist, from who is visible, who are some of the people that the artist needs to ensure their success?
Team, and the team breakdown follows as such. You have manager. I want everybody to understand that you have different types of managers, right? You may need a financial manager, but you may also need a personal manager. You may need a business manager, but you may also need to have a financial and general manager, for example. You're going to, the bigger you get as an artist, your team will expand. Marketing is definitely a foundation that you must have. Again, I mentioned earlier brand awareness, brand development. You're going to need a marketing team to be fully equipped with what brand you looks like and should feel like. Booking agents is also another aspect of your career. If you're not getting shows, you're not making money. So you want to make sure that that aspect is also active. I guess nowadays they've kind of broken it down into more details. Back then it was just your production team, your engineer, your producer, you know. Now I definitely would recommend yes, your engineer, your producer, but you're more versatile these days. You can work with 2, 3, 4, 5 engineers and still get the same, you know. Nowadays you also have social media manager and them things. That was all about the marketing when I just started. Everything was one. But I understand the need because social media has become a job. The dollars and not as it has. Eventually you break down once you start getting bigger. Now you start in the touring, you have your tour manager, you have your personal assistant, you have your roadie or your road manager as well. Sometimes you even have a musical director, depending on how intricate your career is. I actually recommend this when they get to a certain stage and you can afford to sustain having one, get yourself a musical director. Because they're actually specialized in understanding the music and pairing it well with who you are and what you represent. So once that stays consistent, it's easy. You have somebody else in the corner that can maintain consistency, but also the value of what you bring to the table. So your team can spread far and wide. I know, I can tell you right now, we have three international artists from Jamaica that have a team of, and I'm just talking to business, I'm not talking musicians, I'm not talking band members. From a business angle, he has a team of 8 people. And that is just local underground. Right? So the bigger you get is the more help you're going to need. Because one person can't manage everything. Yeah?
So, how many of you knew that Bob Marley had, as a part of his team, a creative designer? Show of hands. How many of you? Nobody. Yes. How many of you knew that Bob Marley had a traveling chef. But you know that Junior Gong has a flagman. Why did you not know of the other two, but you know of this one, apart from it being contemporary? Because Junior Gong flagman, you see him before you see Junior Gong. Because him on the stage. Yes? Him sing about it too. Right? But you see the flagman. Yes? But I will tell you that Bob Marley's chef and creative designer were more critical to what he did than the flagman is to come. That is not to say the flagman is not important. But I'm saying, when you think about it, look at the layers. Look at the different inputs that are necessary. So April spoke about musical direction. But there are some people who are amazing artists, who are dreadful writers. And the sooner somebody tells them, the better off their career will be. The fact that you are an artist and that you have a song that hit the charts and you are doing shows and doing interviews does not mean that everything that comes from your mind and comes through your mouth is supposed to be a hit song. There are some people, as April alluded to earlier, who are not good at the performance thing. No matter what they think, they're not good at it. But they're amazing at telling a story. And at telling a story lyrically and musically. Probably, if we got to the stage where some of you became artist managers, some of you became advisors to artists, some of you became their accountants, some of you became their attorneys, some of you became their physio, you could probably encourage them to take a song from somebody over the song, or make somebody else produce you instead of you producing yourself, not because you understand how a mixing board works. But we're going to take another look at the video reel. So we take another 2 minutes, take another look, rest ourselves, drink, have a sip of water, and then we come back.
February, Reggae Month. The Jamaica Reggae Industry Association, right, celebrates Rhythms of Resilience is how we celebrate in 2020. So visit us at JaRIA Entertainment on Instagram and Facebook, or to www.jariaentertainment.com. And you will find all the events that we are either producing or that we are endorsing for the month. Join us, celebrate our entertainment, our dance, our food, our arts.
The Jamaica Reggae Industry Association proudly presents Reggae Month 2026 under the powerful theme Rhythms of Resilience. For the entire month of February, JaRIA celebrates the culture, the sound, and the spirit that continue to shape Jamaica's rich musical heritage. And we're starting strong. From February 1 to 6, here's what's coming up in week 1. We open on Sunday, February 1 at 8 p.m. with Honoring the Crown Prince, a heartfelt tribute to the legendary Dennis Brown, celebrating his timeless legacy at the Edna Manley College Amphitheatre. Admission is free. Then on Wednesday, February 4 at 6 p.m., it's Reggae Wednesdays with Back to Bases. This edition salutes Jamaica's great bass players and the iconic bass lines that shaped our music, featuring legendary musicians, including Boris Gardner, Jackie Jackson, Lloyd Parks, Errol Flabber Holt, Danny Exman, and Danny Basie. Admission is free. On Thursday, February 5, we dive deeper with the JaRIA Reggae Open University, unpacking the myths, the money, and the reality of the reggae industry, and exploring how reggae truly functions beyond the romantic narrative. This happens at Church's College. We close the week with the JaRIA Masterclass focusing on professionalism, discipline, and industry readiness on Friday at 10 a.m. at the Edna Manley College, Vera Moody Hall. And that's only week 1 of Reggae Month 2026. To learn more, follow at JaRIA Entertainment on Instagram and Facebook. This February, JaRIA Reggae Month 2026, Rhythms of Resilience. JaRIA Reggae Month 2026.
We're back. So, for the last couple of minutes or so, we will have a kind of a one, you will tell us what you have received so far. We will clarify for you any questions you might have in your mind. Do we have a microphone we want to offer to them in the... Can you monitor the microphone for me, my word, the floor manager? So let's hear what you've received so far, and let's hear all any questions you might have that can clarify something for you. Who wishes to go first? Don't all rush the microphone, it's not polite.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So what I have received so far is, or what I can summarize and pinpoint, is that as artists today, not everybody is a writer, or not everybody who can sing can write. Not everybody who can write can sing. Persons can sing and write, but they can't perform. They can't go out there and go on the stage and do it. Sometimes it's stage fright, sometimes it's nervousness. So both of those are kind of the same thing. And sometimes it's just that they're incapable of doing it. Also, being an artist calls for a level of professional and humbleness. So you have to have those to go out into the artist world and basically bring off your whole thing.
Excellent, excellent. Any other? And don't tell me he was comprehensive. Yes, he was comprehensive, but he can only speak for himself. What have you received from the discussion?
So my understanding is that it's a very hard industry to actually quickly make money as written and explain. So I realize that there's a lot of work that is needed to go into marketing the individual as an artist and actually learn. They need to learn how to become a part of this ecosystem and know how to brand and brand something out of these to actually make themselves branded and profitable.
Excellent. Yes, sir. There's nobody sitting immediately behind you. So everybody looking toward the empty chairs.
Okay, so I learned a lot actually. Some of the points that I don't know was creativity is not taught. I also learned that poetry was the beginning of songwriting, and I learned a lot about the various ways of making money in the ecosystem.
Tell us two of them.
Alright, so dub plates, mass spot ham, sometimes in production, so I can't tell you more, I'm just like
Stage shy.
a little bit. Merchandising.
And you see, it's important to understand the range. Merchandise, like recorded music, like what we would call canned art, is able to move independent of the artist. You see, Bob Marley is not here, but everything Bob Marley sells, including his music. It is human beings still have an affinity for physical things. And so, if you can get into the business of designing and producing merch, just have a look. That is your skill. Provide that to an artist. Provide it to an emerging artist. Let me tell you something. There's a Jamaican personality. I don't want to necessarily call him an artist. But there's a Jamaican personality who almost everybody knew about before they knew what he looked like.
Yeah, well, kind of an data streaming.
Do we have a clue who that is? Huh? L.A. Lewis.
Yes.
L.A. Lewis was a magical phenomenon for years before anybody knew what he looked like. You just saw L.A. Lewis was here and you wonder how that reached this. Somebody said they went deep diving under the sea and saw L.A. Lewis was here. Because he was moving his trademark around in spaces. Now, artists who are trying to make it in the industry, if you can find the right kind of investment, you can start to move your merch. And guess what? If you check the industry carefully, you will see many examples of persons who did not only sell cassettes back in the day, or CDs, or records back in the day out of their trunk, and built a fan base using that. But there are those who also use merch to do it. Because if you're wearing the t-shirt of an artist, you probably will create a connection to them. And if you go to watch a concert and you find that the artist was engaging, you might want to, when you're leaving, pick up merch. If you pick up merch, you're less likely to forget them or to forget their name. And if you don't forget their name, you are likely to go to try to find them again or find something of theirs again. So if we think about it, merch is important. But that merch, when the artist also becomes big, is an additional stream of income, not just by the artist selling it, but by the artist licensing that merch for someone else to produce. So while your song is doing the rounds and people are hearing it, you don't have to be traveling with a duffel bag full of t-shirts or handbags or shoes or caps. You can license it to a festival in Germany or license it to a promoter in Sweden or in New Zealand who's having a big festival with 80,000 people. And if 80,000 people come to a festival and 1%, where's the maths brain here? What is 1% of 80,000?
1% of it.
What is 1% of 80,000? Why, maths doesn't go down here, Tom? 10% of 80,000. No, I said 1%, so I'm trying to help you to work it out. 10% of 80,000 is 8,000. Yes? 10% of 8,000 is 800.
1%.
Go to the maths. Much more recently than here. Eh? Him say 800 long time. And then bread. So, alright. So I'm saying, just imagine if you sell 800 pieces of merch for 10 US dollars. Just 800 pieces of merch. Remember, 80,000 people would have come to this show And I'm saying if only 1% purchase your merch, you would have made 800 times 10, which is $8,000. If only 1%, one. Huh? You ever start the merch? Think about it. Just think about it. Good? You know how many people can sell 800 records? A lot of people believe that, you know how difficult it is? How many of you ever tried to get 800 followers online? You've already amassed how many? Somehow I feel that you're amassing has not passed 1,000, but nevertheless, since you had to use such a big word, amassed. But the reality is, if you can allow someone else with the reach and access, because if you license your merch to the producer, and the producer knows I have 80,000 people passing through this festival for the week, he or she is going to ensure that the first thing they see when they come through the gate, or the last thing they see when they're leaving, is the merch, because they want to move it. So they are going to ensure that at least 20% or 25% of their patronage purchases. So think about what that means now. We move from 1% to 25%. Think of what that means. When you license it and you say, we're going to do a split, a 60-40 split, you're going to produce it, you're going to make 60%, because you're going to put out the investment, and I'm going to get 40, or we're going to split it 50-50. You with me? So, think about those possibilities. Think about what is possible if you go into gaming, and if you create sounds and sound palettes that are used in gaming. How many of you do gaming? So every day you're causing somebody from South Korea to make money. And yet you have a melody in your heart, and because you can't boast as an artist, you're not sharing it with someone else who could use it to make you money. Some of it is bad mind, true. Yes, sir.
This just reminded me of a video I saw on TikTok. I'm not sure if everyone has seen it, but this lady, she made a little jingle for Dr. Pepper, and she got paid $2 million.
As simple as that. As simple as that. So I'm saying, and Dr. Pepper didn't flinch to pay $2 million. You know why? Because they understand what that means in terms of reach and what that means in terms of numbers. Good? So if you can find channels, and if you can also create channels, if you are into doing videos, YouTube channeling, or creating platforms, if you are a computer geek and you can create platforms or websites or apps, you can start to think about how you will create channels and avenues for solving people's problems or for offering people that which they require. And those create additional streams of revenue so that you can hire the poets from JaRIA. You can use content that is created by the writers and artists and producers that April manages or develops. And you can produce your own ecosystem of income revenue generation. Everybody with me? Anything else? Any other questions? Any other clarifying questions before we close?
So good afternoon. I have 3 questions. Are you ready for all 3?
I'm ready for all 3.
So they're very specific.
But you might need to use a little bit of a voice that's a little less sexy so we can hear you.
The compliment is appreciated. And can answer. So the first question is, how feasible is it on a scale of 1 to 10 for an independent artist, specifically with a skill set that is inclusive of marketing and business management to create a strong and profitable foundation in the music industry without a team?
Read the first 5 words of that question again.
How feasible is it on a scale of 1 to 10?
No man, a 5%. How feasible is it? Yeah, the first 4, yes. How feasible is it? Right? And the last 3 words are?
Industry without a team.
You want me to answer that, April? Not. That's the answer. The truth is that there are too many elements in the entertainment industry that are giving people the mistaken perspective that one-man bands work. Yes? So there is this, you talk to some artists and them say, I mean write my thing, I mean do me this, I mean do me that, I mean everything, and 3/4 or 98% of the time it is not true. There are people who were there, who help them with writing, help them with production, help them with guidance and so on, do all sorts of things for them, but they are not under the lights like Gong Flatman. And so they will tell people that they did everything. And even when they are great at writing and performing and producing, they have other help. Somebody works in a radio station that helps to push your music. Somebody helps you with designing your clothes or choosing it for you. Somebody sees an opportunity and gets you a booking and gets you through to some interviews. Yes? But I'll allow the artist development specialist to come in.
I also want to just highlight, being a creative is being a creative. Is there, before I even say that, is there anybody in here who is a creative? You are. Do you mind sharing with me what you do?
So I am a DJ, I am graphic design, I do whatever things that interest me.
One question. When you DJ, they give me an idea of how long you can play for in any one session.
Typically 3 hours.
3 hours. How do you feel after that 3 hours?
Creatively drained.
Drained. And most times when you feel creatively drained, what happens to you physically?
So my body feels as well. So tired, restless.
What comes from you with such passion, it absorbs a lot of energy. And mentally, it leaves you exhausted sometimes. Right? Some people actually get energized by it, but most don't. Left side and right side brain, have you ever heard of that? When you try to activate both brains at the same time, let's say you're in DJ mode, and you're also trying to brainstorm how you're going to market this particular layout that you're going to. Yeah? How do you feel in that moment? I'm going to say this to you. We all have roles in this life. We all have roles in this business. Do not shun the roles that exist to try and do it on yourself. You're going to train yourself even more, and you're not going to be able to pump the full creativity. Utilize the individuals who are already in this space as much as you possibly can. But anyway, I'm working on the individual. If you have friends, for example, that want to help you right now, where you are in your career, I love them to help you because they can't do this. You're not meant to be like yourself. That's the truth. I have many DJs, I have many DJs, and I can tell you, I ever show them 5 emails I get from one thing surrounding. And breakfast, first thing up, they don't say, no, that's not the way you should be doing. Because they don't have the capacity to switch off the creativity and go to the business and then solve the business and then switch it off and still give creativity the full 100 that it needs. It's not meant to be. It's not supposed to be. That's why we exist as business entities and business representatives for you to help you along your journey. So Mommy, I can tell you, I started out with a skill. That's where I started in my journey. I started out singing. And one day I woke up and I told myself, I don't want to be front of the lines. We don't like that. Right? And I took a step back and that's how I found my niche, aka my company is called Niche. Right? I found passion in representing creatives. That's where I thrive. And there's nothing wrong with it and I'm not ashamed of it. It's actually one of the best and most rewarding jobs sometimes that I could do. Alright? I'll admit creatives are very draining for us too. You know? Some of us handle it very well, some of us don't. But the truth is we all exist for a reason. So please don't try to use yourself. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions? Oh, you have 3 questions. Yes, so you have 2 more.
So the second question is there an average cost for dub plates? If yes, what is the figure?
Are those the 2 questions in one?
Yeah.
Or that's one, that's not question number 2, parts 1 and 2.
Dub plates they vary. You have what I would say top-notch artists, biggest artists of the Jamaica. If you want to dub plate, you have to find a good $1 million. Right? But you also have artists that charge you $150 US or $100 here or $200. It just depends on where you are in your journey. We should have a standard because a dub plate is a dub plate and it really don't. You understand what I'm saying? There is no maximum dub plate that you can give one person. But the truth is we don't, and again it goes back to some of the things that we really should be setting as kind of outlines or so people understand how it works. But as a DJ, the more artists that you are interested in getting the place from, you will hear over time how wide and vast those fees can range. And the smaller the artists that you make, that's just the reality.
And number 3.
Okay, so negotiations. What are the skills needed to effectively negotiate?
You have a brand, you have a strong, you laugh is a serious thing. You have a strong, and you believe in yourself. Because if you believe in yourself, you're not going to water down yourself to satisfy anybody. Right? Understanding your value as a creative or an artist is the most important thing that you could ever do for yourself. It means that you're going to walk with that value everywhere you go. And it also means that eventually a level of respect will surround you or as I like to call it, and certain people are not going to foolishness. Right? Negotiations is also something that can be front, but I don't practice teaching to negotiate. I think for me, how I got it, because I taught it in school when I was doing my degrees, yeah. And I think I did okay-ish, if I'm being honest at the time that I did it. But it got better over time. It got better in the field, it got better after having enough experiences, it also got better after having the biggest loss. The biggest loss is also the biggest lesson. And I think when that cut you, you don't say nothing about this again.
But appreciate this, or should I say, and appreciate this. When you're understanding your worth and your value, and you're applying that to your negotiation, it does not mean that your negotiating style is going to be inflexible. What it means is that you should always identify how you will extract value from the circumstance you're negotiating. So for example, If you're negotiating something that is not going to pay you in dollars, it must pay you in opportunity. You have to determine how you extract that opportunity. So you can show up to someone's event and they have asked you to come and they have asked you to come at a fraction of what you believe your fee should be. But you are going to determine that when I go there, and you're going to negotiate that with them, that when I go, I'm going to make sure that I leave with at least 4 or 5 business leads. Or I'm going to ensure that I am seen by a market I would not normally have been seen by. You with me? So you have to ensure that in the negotiation, you are extracting value for yourself and not allowing your value to be exploited by someone else. You with me? And that's something that would need to take us through life generally. Alright? So, we're going to take 1 minute each from our panelists to close, and because we're going to take 1 minute from our panelists each, and then we're going to bid you adieu and hope that you will, one, that every single one of you in here has already followed at JaRIA Entertainment on Instagram, at JaRIA Entertainment, and when you have settled and relaxed later, you can go to www.jariaentertainment.com. But for now, you're following at JaRIA Entertainment. You're going to tag at JaRIA Entertainment in your posts and photos in your reflection on this conversation. And you're also following Creation Foods that gave you samples from outside. You hear that? You hear that? So we'll take Britain first, and then we close with April.
So I'm going to close in a different style. I'm going to give you a sample of what JaRIA has to offer in the form of poetry. Enough man, we never get the chance for yam, homemade guava jam or broad bean, chicken soup and yellow yam from the shell of a calabash. Enough man, we never experience the joy, the liver, figure river go bathe and take a one splash. Enough man, we never witness a ram dance or session or get fizzy reggae music utilized as a weapon in the form of a sound clash. Enough man never grow up playing marble, cricket and mumalashi. Enough man lifestyle way too posh and flashy to share the front seat of a taxi. Enough man don't know nothing about Stucky, Dolly House or why we used to beg, plead and bawl out, cree. Enough man we never get to breathe the simple joys of the world from the limb of a East Indian mango tree. Enough man would run wild like when the German assassin did set Django free if them could have lived like we. Yeah, enough man. Enough man don't know what we mean when we say that a jacket or in my boobs. Enough man never get thrown off and say oops when them distract a black sister and tea for one chips. Enough man will never live for chop a jelly and turn that time head till him belly full. Enough man will never put a woman close for your wine while the lyrics of a berry and tracker paint a pretty provocative picture in their mind. Enough man knows a coconut make gizzard, or the fact that them cut it in half in order to add flavor and spice to a nice pot of rice and peas. Enough man wouldn't get it. Who would give the last piece of pudding? Drink off the last glass of sorrel or the quarrel over the last pretty shirt in the bottom of the barrel. Enough man wouldn't understand the simple little pleasures will come with being a Jamaican, a Jamaican, a Jamaican. Enough man. Well, by respect.
Excellent, excellent. And so, to close us,
Father JaRIA as well, alright? Bless up.
I don't know how to close after that.
wait a minute.
Donkey. years ago. So from an entertainment business, from a management, from a development standpoint, if you have an interest in becoming a creative or playing a role in the creative industry or entertainment business itself, if you want to master your crafts as a talent, niche is your space, feel free to reach out to us. It's Niche Entertainment Group Limited. You find us on Instagram, or I think our website is down right now, we're some renovations. But you definitely you'll get me directly on our Instagram page for sure. I want to encourage you, it's a very hard journey, but if you're passionate and if you're serious, it can be a successful journey. Yeah. So all the best. And if you need anything, even just ask questions, feel free to reach out.
Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for being here with us. Tell your friends, and next time you hear that we are coming, make sure that each of you brings 20 people. And if each of you brings 20 people, we'll have a full auditorium and we will have an even richer conversation. So we close out with some more information on JaRIA. Thanks for coming.
2026 on the powerful theme Rhythms of Resilience. For the entire month of February, JaRIA celebrates the culture, the sound, and the spirit that continue to shape Jamaica's rich musical heritage. And we're starting strong. From February 1 to 6, here's what's coming up in week 1. We open on Sunday, February 1 at 8 p.m. with Honoring the Crown Prince, a heartfelt tribute to the legendary Dennis Brown, celebrating his timeless legacy at the Edna Manley College Amphitheatre. Admission is free. Then on Wednesday, February 4 at 6 p.m., it's Reggae Wednesdays with Back to Bases. This edition salutes Jamaica's great bass players and the iconic bass lines that shaped our music, featuring legendary musicians, including Morris Gardner, Jackie Jackson, Lloyd Parks, Errol Flagger Holt, Danny Exman, and Danny Basie. Admission is free. On Thursday, February 5, we dive deeper with the JaRIA Reggae Open University, unpacking the myths, the money, and the reality of the reggae industry, and exploring how reggae truly functions beyond the romantic narrative. This happens at Church's College. We close the week with the JaRIA Masterclass focusing on professionalism, discipline, and industry readiness on Friday at 10 a.m. at the Edna Manley College, Vera Mooney Hall. And that's only week 1 of Reggae Month 2026. To learn more, follow at JaRIA Entertainment on Instagram and Facebook. This February, JaRIA Reggae Month 2026, Rhythms of Resilience. JaRIA Reggae Month 2026 is proudly sponsored by Ray and Nephew, Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts, RGR Communications Group, Oral Clip, Starlight Productions, Yardbridge Entertainment, Digital Video Concepts, Fesco, Creation Foods, Dream Vacations and Cruises, FYC Purified Drinking Water, Gentle Care, Jaiku,